what I'm going to be doing is doing some birdseed here. So I'm going to be creating all these really quickly, and we'll just use those to tile seamlessly in our polyplane. So the first thing I'm going to do is go grab a sphere 3D, drag it out on my canvas, go into edit mode. I'm going to change my material here to a matte cap gray, and I'm going to make it a polymesh 3D. And under deformation, I'm going to do size -100 maybe twice. And now I can just use my default under geometry Dynamesh. Just turn on Dynamesh, turn off project, turn off blur, and just hit Dynamesh. Now I have a nice low-res Dynamesh here. You could also change the resolution, but I'm going to stick with that method here. So now if I go into X symmetry, turn on X, which is under transform, that's just toggling X symmetry on and off. I'll be able to sculpt symmetrically. Now because I'm going to be doing seeds, what I can also do is go into here to transform. We'll turn on X and Z symmetry so we can do symmetry in these directions here. So that'll just allow me to really quickly create, for example, a corn kernel. We'll squish it down this way and maybe squish it down this way some. We'll go into our clip brush, our clip curve. I'm going to turn off X temporarily just so I can go ahead and slice through here. And you know what, if you want to, you can actually kind of curve that out. Just hold down Control Shift and drag, and then tap once, tap twice, and that'll kind of cut across here. There we go. And now we can hit X again to turn on X symmetry, and then we can use the move brush here, kind of stretch that out. And now we can use our move brush with, if you have your brush menu over here, you can go over here to your curve menu, turn on AccuCurve, and now you can actually pull out to a point here. And let's go ahead and use our trim dynamic brush, so BTD, and now you can go through here and you can kind of start making these a little bit more rigid here. And then if you want to ease that transition a little bit, you can also go through here, and now we can use our move brush again with AccuCurve turned on, and that'll kind of pull these corners out to points. Now the reason I want to work at such low resolution is because when I'm going to be duplicating this 1,000 times in Nano Mesh, I don't want it to bog down my machine too much, and because it's going to be so small, it doesn't need to be that detailed, but you can kind of just use your judgment as to what kind of detail you're going to end up needing. Now when I'm painting this thing, I don't necessarily want to paint in X and Y and Z symmetry, because as I'm going to be rotating this thing and flipping it in Nano Mesh, I want to make sure that, you know, one seed can look like several seeds just based on the direction it's flowing in. So I'm going to turn off X symmetry temporarily. We're going to go grab maybe a dark orange here, and then I'm going to do color fill object. My hotkey for that, I have it set up. If you want to set a hotkey, it's just Control-Alt-Tap, and then it'll allow you to assign a hotkey to that. Mine is Alt-Control-F to do that, so I'll be doing that from now on. So we got a dark orange here. I'm going to change my standard brush here to RGB instead of ZAdd, and we're just going to do a little bit of poly painting here. So I'm going to do a lighter yellow, and we'll just go through here. We'll kind of paint this back end yellow. If I hold down Shift and turn off ZAdd, I can now use Shift to kind of blur out just my RGB values here. And we'll go to a little bit whiter, and we'll go ahead and paint the end of this white here, and then again hold down Shift, kind of blur that transition out. And now at this point, just go in here, and I'm just going to kind of put in a little bit of modeling here. And if you want to see it a little bit better, go into your materials here, maybe try a skin shader 4. That'll kind of brighten it up a little bit, like so. Maybe get a little bit more yellow, a little more saturated, and just kind of pepper that through here. Alright, so now that you've got this pretty much done, this will be our corn kernel. We'll go ahead and go into our subtool menu here. We'll duplicate that off, and we'll just keep working on duplicates. If you just want to see this one, just turn on solo mode here. Your solo mode button might be down here, and we'll keep going. So the next one we're going to do, we're going to turn on X and Z symmetry again. We're going to stretch this thing out. We're going to use our move brush to kind of even this out. And if I want to get rid of this poly paint temporarily, just turn off your colorize brush here and go back to a white or a grayish if you're having trouble seeing with the skin shader 4 turned on. And now we can start sculpting our second one, which is going to look more like this. So I'm going to go, oops, make sure you turn on ZAdd for your standard brush. So we'll kind of start sculpting out a little ridge here. Hold down Shift and turn ZAdd, holding down Shift, turn ZAdd back on for your smooth brush here. So we'll put a little ridge here. And if we go into our Damien standard brush, so BDS, we can hold down Alt, and we can pull out a little ridge along the side here. And if you want that ridge to be thinner, go into your pinch brush, and then just kind of pinch that along the side here. And then go into your move brush here. And for the move brush, we can turn off AccuCurve because we're just going to be doing general move here. And now we can just kind of pull these back. Now there's two different types of this kind of seed. It looks like there's a dark one and then a striped one. So we'll do the dark one first. So we'll go down here to the dark areas, choose maybe a darker blue. And then again, I'm going to do colorize, color fill object, or Control-Alt-F in my case for my hotkey. We'll duplicate this one off, and for the duplicate, all we need to do is make sure we're in RGB mode with our standard brush here, and then we'll choose a kind of a, looks like a yellowish white, and then I'm going to again turn off X so we can just do this asymmetrically, and we'll just go through here and we'll just put in some stripes. And you could also do it the opposite. If you want to fill it with white first and then go to a dark blue, you can do that if it's easier, and then fill it with stripes. If you also want, go to Stroke, Lazy Mouse, and crank that lazy radius up on your standard brush, and that'll allow you to get nice, quick, fast lines for this particular one. And again, we're doing different patterns on the back and on the front, so when we rotate this thing, it'll look like two different seeds. And of course, you can make as many variations of these things as you want, and then just select them later in Nano Mesh, but we're just going to do one each. The last two are going to be the simplest. These are just going to be the little filler kernels in here, maybe a dark one and a light one will do. So let's go ahead and duplicate this off here, and we'll turn X back on, and we'll just use transpose to make this smaller here, and make it smaller this way. Redynamesh, because this is going to be pretty low resolution. Let's go ahead and just fill this with like a darker, kind of a faded orange it looks like. And if you want to, make sure you have RGB turned on with your standard brush again, you can kind of paint. And you can hit L if you don't want the lazy mouse on anymore, just tap L to turn that off. Hold down Shift, turn on RGB again for your smooth brush, and now you can kind of smooth out those transitions here. And again, if you want to just go in here, and let's turn off X like I said, and now we can just go back and forth and kind of model it up a little bit, maybe introduce just a few little color variants here. Duplicate this one off, and now we'll do a really light one. So we'll do kind of like a light tan. Control-Alt-F to fill if you have that set up, or just color fill object, and then we'll go here to a light color and we'll just fill that in. So these will be all of our seeds. In order to get these selectable for Nano Mesh, you can either keep them in here and just keep swapping through, which is what I'm going to do, or if you want them easily available, just click on these and hit clone. That'll throw out a clone here, so you can just go through here and hit clone, and then you can just quickly select through here, but I'll show you the other way just so you know how to do that. So we've got all of our subtools here, so now let's go ahead and put these on our Nano Mesh plane.